This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
Doing great.
It's
late night last night with the Panthers.
Yeah,
but it was
but
some
it was
kind
a
of
good
fun.
night. That was a good night. That was a lot of fun, man, and historic as hell. And when we talk about Tkachuk, it's Shula Riley or Riley Shula. I don't give a shit. However you want to rank the greatest trades in South Florida history, Shula and Riley will always be 1 and 2. However you want to put it, I don't care. And then you have to start looking at some other guys. LeBron and Bosch obviously brought a couple titles. Pudge was an enormous addition to that 2003 Marlins team. And Tkachuk, this one moves ahead of Ricky Williams. Because, it was great for a rushing title, but you didn't get to a Super Bowl. This guy got you to a Stanley Cup. And 3 game-winning goals in a series. That's the kind of shit that Marino does. That's the kind of stuff that you would expect a really, really stud player to do. And Tkachuk quickly is climbing the charts as one of the greatest trades in South Florida history. Pretty amazing.
No, without question. I mean, just think of the first-year impact. It's completely crazy. And to me, it's not in the same category. I'd leave out Riley and Shula because they're not in the same category. They're not players. I hear what you're saying, but as far as players are concerned, I was thinking of this.
I mean, the impacts of those trades. Oh my God, culturally, to what the Dolphins were and what the Heat are. Jesus Christ.
But in terms of like first-year impact for any South Florida player, I mean, Ricky's first year was phenomenal, but the team around him wasn't quite good enough because you remember his first year led the NFL in rushing with a team record that nobody's come close to.
Right.
But Tkachuk is like, Jesus Christ, every game it's got. And by the way, you mentioned the 3 game-winning goals that he has in this series in the Eastern Conference Final. Well,
in just one series, bro.
In the fourth game, he has the assist on the game-winning goal.
That's right.
Which was the only goal of the game. So,
right.
I know. Then he had the game-winning goal against Boston in Game 5. So completely ridiculously clutch.
It's just stupid, bro. It's just stupid how good that guy is and his impact and all of that stuff. So, and if you win the cup, then, it becomes one, it's just like, wow, holy shit, dude. And that hit by Bennett. That's the other thing I loved about that game, too, because I was so tired over the years of watching our guys be such wussies. And they would take a beating, and everybody took a shot at Trocheck when Trocheck was with us, including the Carolina Hurricanes, by the way, took some shots at him after then acquiring him later on. But and our guys would just take it. And now this is a completely different team. This team doesn't take shit from anybody. And when your superstar doesn't take shit from anybody and is also willing to be an instigator, brother, that just puts no limits on the rest of you. You better be willing to sacrifice as much as that guy, because when he throws his body on the ice to save that shot, I mean, what superstar? Only hockey superstars do that. Only hockey superstars do that.
Yeah, I will say this, though. I mean, Bennett's always never been afraid to throw his body around, even the past few years. But Tkachuk, I don't want to say brought it to another level. I mean, I think the whole thing is Tkachuk brought an extra dimension of grit that this team didn't have. They also
Radko and all that. Yeah.
Well, Radko has always been Radko, so that hasn't changed. But they also completely changed the way they played to, as I told you many, many times, to play a playoff type of game, which they never did before. Here's, to me, what kind of a telling sign last night. And mind you, it didn't have anything to do with the outcome, but the result of the hit, and it was a clean hit. The result of it was bad in large part because Slomin hit his head on the boards after he got knocked off balance. And then Carolina did something really weird, which is confronted Bennett, which I totally get. That's the hockey unwritten rule. but usually somebody starts throwing punches. Well, what they did is they started slashing him, and they got 2 penalties on the play, and the Panthers got 1, and they gave the Panthers a power play and never really did anything to Bennett. So that was kind of weird. But to go back to the original point, yeah, he's brought a whole new and
everybody.
The coach.
I give Zito all the credit in the world because since he got here, he noticed that his team was soft, and he started with Radko and others, and he started to acquire players that just brought a different nastiness to the game, and now it's all over the team now. And to me, that's refreshing because in hockey, that was the 90s team that got to the Stanley Cup because of Paul Laws and other guys. They didn't take shit from people either, and that was they were scrappy and all that kind of stuff, and that helped them. And to me, our teams in the past, especially the last couple of years, they were so finesse oriented because they were so good scoring wise, but then you could push them around. And this group, you don't push these guys around, bro. And I love it. I freaking love it. I think it's fair.
I went back and looked at the quotes when Paul Maurice was hired, and he mentioned marveling at the skill that Panthers have, and he goes you'll see they'll make passes that go over 3 sticks, and he's like, that doesn't work in the playoffs. You can get away with that in the regular season. That doesn't work in the playoffs. And that's what happened against Tampa Bay. And I know 2 years ago, the narrative was that Vasilevsky stole the series for Tampa Bay, which was.
Well, yeah, because they added him late and all that.
Partly.
Yeah.
No, part of Vasilevsky is a goalie. Partly true. And then last year, the Panthers didn't even come close. I mean, they were not threatening offensively because they couldn't do anything. If you look at a lot of their goals, again, it's close to the net. What they call greasy goals.
Yeah, which is exactly how it ended last night, right around the net.
Mind you, if you remember, Sam Bennett occupying the goalie to the point where they reviewed it to make sure there wasn't goaltender interference.
Right. Yeah, crazy stuff. All right. Does Poupart know the Expos are no longer a team anymore? Says
no way.
What? I mean, I thought I was watching the Expos last night. Weren't the Expos on last night? Yeah.
Tell me you know nothing
are no longer in baseball.
Telling me that. Jesus Christ. No, I was born and raised in Montreal and was a completely hardcore, diehard Expos fan, but thank you for the news flash.
I know he allowed a couple goals yesterday, but man, Bob has been freaking amazing, dude. Really amazing. And I listen, I give props to Carolina. They're a damn good team. What the Panthers did to sweep that team, my God, what they've done for these 3 rounds, it's just unheard of, really. It really is, because they've played like they're the better team. It's not just flukish or a lucky break here or there. No. They have outplayed their opponents.
No. Sorry, I'm going to disagree with you here. I will agree with you. They completely outplayed Toronto. I will give you that one. Boston, flip a coin. Boston could have nailed that series 5 different times against Carolina. Dude, it's 4-1 goal games. Quadruple overtime.
But you win.
But it's if you tell me that there's no fluke or anything like that involved in winning overtime games, don't tell me the Panthers. I mean, let's.
Well,
dude,
it can't be flukish if you continue to do it. It cannot be flukish.
I'm not saying it's flukish, but please, dude, don't tell me that the Panthers badly outplayed Carolina. They didn't. It was an even series.
No, I didn't
just happened to get the goal.
Did I say badly? I just said they have outplayed their opponents.
I don't believe that. No, they didn't outplay Carolina. It was an even series, and they just got the goals at the clutch times.
But they won 4-0. They outplayed them.
Overtime, 4.9 seconds left, and they won 1-0. Okay,
you didn't win one.
I'm not in an arguing mood. Okay, dude, I'm not in an arguing mood. You want to say that they outplayed the Hurricanes? Go for it. I'm not arguing with you. That's fine.
Okay, but how can you not say that at least out? I didn't say badly, but
they did not outplay.
These teams are all better
on large margins every single game. If Bobrovsky, just a fact, you just prefaced this by talking about how great Bobrovsky played.
Yeah, bro, he was awesome.
Guess what? If Bobrovsky doesn't badly outplay the Carolina goaltenders in this series, who weren't terrible, but Bobrovsky was superior, Panthers don't win that series. Well, I am just telling you.
Poop, I know that you're the hockey expert and I'm a hockey schmuck, but there's no such thing as a championship run without the goaltender actually playing great. They all have to play great.
I didn't say that.
I mean, that's part of the game.
Pushing back against your narrative that the Panthers outplayed the Hurricanes. They didn't. They won 4 close games.
If it was 4-3 and they won in 7, then I agree with you. But when you sweep a team, I think you outplayed them. I don't know.
You can believe that. You can believe
I'm
that.
just saying.
I think you would ask if this was scored as a boxing match. I'm not so sure Carolina doesn't get the edge.
Oh no, you outbox somebody if you won all 4 rounds.
Okay.
Or 12 rounds or whatever it is.
Boxing, that's not the same thing.
Actually, that's a bad analogy because in boxing, if you win all the rounds, you dominated.
Boxing is a terrible analogy. Boxing is a horrible analogy. It's not the same thing. The Hurricanes had territorial advantage for more of the series than the Panthers. Not quite close, actually. No, hats off to the Panthers. Did a great job. Bob was outstanding. Kachuk was clutch like crazy.
The best player on the ice. He was the best player on the ice.
Sure, but that's a bridge too far for me to say that the Panthers outplayed the Hurricanes. Let's just be happy they swept them. That's not good enough. Big O, by all means, feel free to feel how you want to feel.
Poop, it's a sweep. It's a freaking sweep, dude. I mean,
it's hockey.
I know.
Hockey.
Okay.
The margin between winning and losing in hockey is like this compared to basketball or football or baseball. It's not the same thing.
Are they writing in Carolina that this was a close series?
Their head coach. I guess you didn't hear their head coach.
What do you say?
Check out his clip from the post game, which that to me is taking it a step too far. He basically said, "I watch all the games. No duh, you're the coach." And he goes, basically, we didn't lose. This was not a series. This was not a sweep. I don't make the exact phrasing was basically saying we won everywhere except on the scoreboard. And he's not entirely wrong. The phrasing was bad, but he's not entirely wrong. The general overall point that he made is that he wasn't pissed or disappointed the way his team played.
Okay.
It's just the way the puck goes every once in a while. That's just
no. I got it. I just kind of would go with that if it was a 4-3 series, 4-2. Okay. But 4-0, God, you didn't win any of them. I mean, that's kind of weak. By the way, why are there so many idiots out there twisting a camera on a helmet to be like a negative thing? I tried to explain to people because you and I have been to a lot of practices for several decades now. It started with one camera above. Then it started with 2 end zone cameras above. And then it started with cameras above and then cameras in each positional group. So they can, it's only technology, bro.
And the towers, don't forget the towers.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said, up above.
Yeah.
But my point is, you have cameras in your house now. 20, 30 years ago, we couldn't afford that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we have cameras, rear view cameras in our cars now, which we didn't have. That's just technology. It's just a way to better yourself. Coverage, like right now, I could get on my phone. I was explaining to people, I can look in my backyard. I can look inside my house and see if my dogs are fine. If somebody rings a doorbell, I can talk to them. It's just technology. And by the way, on the football field, it's the same thing. It's been evolving. So now we have the kind of cameras that can go on a helmet. What's the big deal? Why make it sound like you have a remedial quarterback that needs all the help in the world when the guy was the number 1 rated passer in the NFL? This is just a coaching tool. Can you explain to people that, please?
It's another way of gathering additional information to help your quarterback and all your players with their craft. In this particular case, they can go back and I'm sure it films as well. Or so there's a filming mechanism somewhere in there where they can go back and look at the footage. Okay. And then he can talk to his quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator. What are you seeing on this play? What should you be looking at? And and to me, it's like the more information is never bad.
Right.
Knowledge is power. The more you know, the better. And then it's like, and again, it's like with the jiu-jitsu thing. whatever percentage of help it provides, it's more than zero.
Amen.
So unless it detracts from something else, why would anybody have an issue with this? The same thing with the camera here. If it provides 2% of help,
Right.
it's 2% you otherwise wouldn't have. So what's
And by the way, I was also looking at it in a positive way where, Tua normally makes all the right decisions. He more often than not, 9 out of 10 times, he's making the right decisions. He's making the right plays. It also sets an example for your second and your third quarterbacks. And those guys are probably mentally behind Tua and maybe even physically. So they can also show, hey, look, this is how Tua played this. This is what you've got to do in the same situation. So you can also use the positive plays out of it as examples to help your other quarterbacks there on the roster. Even the fourth stringer, that's probably a really green dude, has to kind of, learn a little bit. So it can be used multiple ways to correct what Tua did wrong and to also help educate the other quarterbacks, because I'm sure you'll file on the library the stuff you're going to want to use as teaching tools, along the way.
No, absolutely. Plays that are not consequential, they're not going to keep, and then the plays that where there's an educational benefit, those you stack up in your library. I mean, yeah, it's just. I'm like surprised that I saw that you were talking about it. That it's actually become an issue, and I'm.
It's stupid. It's ridiculous. By the way, were you able to keep track of when players were overworked or hydrated 10 years ago and 15, 20 years ago? No. And can they do that now, Poop? Do they not have trackers on their bodies and all that now? I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. It just it gets to a point where it just overboard, and I just feel because it's the off season, we got to reach for material or try to create controversy where there is none whatsoever.
And the other part of that is you have a very polarizing quarterback, where
true.
It's going to create anything involving him is going to create discussion, debate all over the place. Where in a lot of cases there does need to be one.
Okay, give me something that stood out to you. I know it's just OTAs, my brother, so I'm not asking for anything football-wise, but I am asking physically. Anything out there that stood out to you a little bit from any of the young guys or the veterans?
The thing that stuck out to me is when guys came out for interviews, like Austin Jackson was like, somebody worked on his body over the off season. Him, Jalen Waddle, I was like, Jesus. Dude's like twice the size he was. Like the upper body, it was like, didn't know he had biceps on him. I mean, it was like, damn. That stuck out to me.
Phillips looked good too, bro.
Well,
I'm predicting 10+ sacks for his ass this year.
I don't recall him never not being cut. So that didn't surprise me when I saw that, even though I was like, Jesus Christ, that guy's cut. In terms of what I saw on the field. And
by the way, I have a ton of admiration for Austin Jackson. Very few human beings are able to stay as positive and fight through all the adversity in life when it's hit you year after year. And he struggled to find his way. And then last year with all the injuries, and then, his career started off rocky because his last year at USC, the whole bone marrow thing, and he didn't really have his strength, and yet he still played the entire season and all of that. And so this young man has been through a lot, and the attitude that he has, you have seen it before, Poop, like I have, and many others that are watching. We've seen the guy that struggles, and then he gets frustrated, and then he points fingers, and he makes excuses. That dude's never pointed fingers, never made excuses. And he's always been willing and what's it called? Encouraged to take on whatever challenge it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he had that great attitude last year. And then when I saw the press conference again just a couple days ago, it's easy to root for Austin Jackson.
Big time. No, I like the kid a lot. He's 20, 23, 24, however old he is.
Old parts, bro.
Exactly. For me, he's a kid. No, you hit on the head when you said like he's an easy guy to root for. Absolutely. For for all the reasons involved. He's a very, very level-headed, nice guy. And also, I'll give him props for admitting that, he says I read a lot. And I took that to mean like he reads what's written about him and all that. And spoiler alert, 95% of players do that. Very few players admit it.
Right.
So props to him for admitting it. And no, I mean, he certainly looked the part. I mean, his body is, I mean, he really did a lot of work on his body. In terms of what I saw in the practice, two things that stood out to me, and then their running backs and their two running backs is I was looking at Devon Achane, and it was like, he's fast, but I had to look very, very carefully to make sure I wasn't looking at Salvon Ahmed. They're 26 and 28, and because I was kind of halfway seeing the same guy.
Okay. All right.
And the one guy I actually thought looked good was the UDFA, was probably got no shot of making the team because he's at running back where they're loaded, and that's Chris Brooks.
Really? Okay.
Who's the biggest back that they have, the biggest halfback that they have, and I really like the way he moved. I saw some nice fluidity in his movement for a guy his size, which impressed me.
Yeah, well, they have an eye for backs. Because at least
they got no room for him. Where's he?
I know going? I know they have no room. But what I'm saying is, what you're seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually got a little some because you got Gaskin at the end of the draft. You found Salvon Ahmed off of somebody else's practice squad. The trade for Jeff Wilson was really productive for you and all that. So they've done a nice job overall with backs. Not perfect, but so I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like that, hits overall. That would be kind of interesting. Maybe a guy you can stash on the practice squad.
Correct. I definitely could see that happening. The wide receiver. I'm gonna hate to do it, but I didn't. I have said I'm not necessarily totally on board with the Mike White signing.
Oh yeah,
he's
competition for Skyler. So
I did not like
Omar told us
the ball. I hate it. I do not like his delivery. It's slow. It's mechanical. No, did not like it.
Yeah, Omar told me on his segment that he said that you guys were talking about it, and I said to Omar, so it was his arm, not the 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 62% completion percentage, 75 quarterback rating. That's not what kind of,
No, to me, it's the eye test because there have been quarterbacks who have had poor numbers.
He doesn't make great decisions. That's the thing I worry about him at times. He doesn't make great decisions. He gets in trouble, and maybe it's because of what you just talked about. I don't know. I need to see him a little bit more up close, and I'll see him at training camp. But Omar kind of said the same thing, that he was not impressed at all with Mike White.
Yeah, no, no. I want to become a believer because this could be a very important player at some point in the season for the Dolphins. Ideally not, but he could become an important player for this team. And I want to be sold on the guy, and certainly wasn't sold by the numbers. With the Jets, with the Jets, here's the thing: he played 7 games. He had 2 really good games, and the other 5 were like. So,
I know.
I need to be convinced, and I certainly wasn't.
It's this Miami thing, bro. I talked about this. It happens with these guys that are from here. There's this extra oomph from our local fan base that they get blinded by the guy that's locally from here. And it just happens all the time, dude. I mean, I'm sure you're still getting the Dalvin Cook stuff. And here they are citing Jeff Wilson to an extension, drafting Achane, and then they're still talking about Dalvin Cook. And I get it, he's a terrific player, but it's also the Miami thing. It's just, there's always that extra juice for anybody that's from this area to bring them back.
Half the NFL either lives or trains in Miami. So there's like so many who have a connection. And I see stories still along like the best trade destinations for Dalvin Cook. Nobody's trading for Dalvin Cook. Nobody wants to take on that contract.
I know that. So. Yeah. By the way, what the hell is Saquon Barkley thinking turning down 13, 14 million from the Giants? Did he basically just tell him, I want to get traded? I want to leave from here because.
Dude. Yeah.
Right? Like
I actually
running
wasn't on
backs.
top of that one. Woof. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, that's
Anyway, what do
crazy.
you got going on SI so folks can check you out?
I just posted a story on the aforementioned Jalen Waddle, looking at all aspects of him heading into his third season. And you'll love this since we spoke about Tua and the polarizing thing. Omar dissected the Chris Sims ranking of Tua and all the comments that he made in that ranking. And I see you shaking your head. I know that would play well with you. But
I mean,
Omar
the
addressed the
guy's
point by
just a
point and made
loser.
some interesting points.
The guy's just a loser. He put him behind.
Put him behind Mac Jones.
Dude, come on, bro. It's just, yeah. I mean, that's disgusting, bro. You're just a moron. You know, there's no excuse. Chris Sims is pathetic, but you know, what are you going to do? So it is what it is. What you agreed with that ranking?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Never said I did.
Yeah. Okay, just in case.
Yeah.
Where would you?
I would be comfortable anywhere in the 12 to 15 range.
All right. Okay. All right. That's fair. I'd put him higher, but that's fair. That's understandable. I can deal with that. 21, whatever.
Seems low.
You need to get slapped. All right. Anyway, follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. And remember, you're not an official Dolphins fan until you bookmark alldolphins.com. That makes you unofficial. You can have season tickets. You can have suite tickets. You can own a jersey or 2 or 5 or 10. You can go to a Dolphins bar. It doesn't make you a Dolphins fan. You got to bookmark alldolphins.com. So make sure you do that. Poop, have a great weekend, my friend. We will catch up next week. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan. Have a great weekend.
Appreciate you. There you go. Alain Poupart, baby. And when we talk about EJD construction, they do it all. Custom home construction, major home remodeling. I give you the owner's personal cell number, 305-433-4843. Save it on that cell phone, 305-433-4843. They can do anything that you need. You need to extend that home. Maybe you want to build a we just got a listener in Palm Beach. No, Broward. He doesn't go to Palm Beach. It's only Dade and Broward. Broward. It was Plantation, not Palm Beach. Plantation is what I was thinking of. And I'm not going to say a name or anything, but building actually an efficiency on their property because they're going to use it as an Airbnb. Pretty smart. Got a big property. Want to build an efficiency. You want to do that. Maybe you got a family member that needs to move over. Maybe, a grandmother, grandfather, your mother, your father. Getting a little older, you want to bring over, but they want to have their own independence. I've seen that before. But if you want to do what they did, which build like an extra unit to be an Airbnb, you can do that too, man. They do it all at EJD Construction. They can build a what's it called? Modernize your roof. If your roof is a little too old and the insurance company's telling you, hey, you got to update it, they can do that for you. You need to build an extra extension to your house. You want to modernize the kitchen. They do all kinds of things. Call my friend Eric at ejdconstruction.com in Dade and Broward counties only. Okay, because I made the mistake of mentioning Palm Beach, and people were calling from Palm Beach, and Eric's like, no, I can't, I'm sorry. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.